Hello there, friends. Pleased to
Hey,
meet you
Owen.
again. All right, thanks. How are you?
I'm fine. It's a terribly cold day in the Netherlands,
Have you
but
got snow there, though?
it's almost gone. But it's
Oh,
yesterday it
okay.
was snowing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We've had snow the last 3 days, and we have to clear the front of our house every
Uh,
morning, like 7 a.m. yesterday. But
that's a good thing about living on the first floor. I don't have anything to clear.
oh, okay, you're lucky. So, we
I
do.
have no I have no garden either. So
Oh, we do have a garden, but obviously we don't need to clear the snow there. We because we've got a puppy, we have to clear something else.
uh,
Yeah, yeah. What with that and the baby, this 2 year old daughter, we've got a lot of work on our plates. But obviously,
hmm,
we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about your books. There are two books that we haven't covered in the first two conversations.
yeah.
Before we go into your very latest books, which I gratefully received last week. I haven't had a chance to read them properly yet, of course. I know you sent me PDFs, but I'm absolutely terrible at reading stuff online. But I did have a peruse at least. But
Hmm.
I want to talk about this one.
Yes.
This is very different to everything
Yes.
else you have published
Yes.
because it is a fictionalized account
Yes.
of well, I forgot his name of
Adam Morris.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it, Paul Morris. Yeah. So
No,
he,
Adam Morris.
yeah, Adam Morris. Yeah, yeah, Adam Morris, and he of course was involved in a couple of groups,
Hmm.
and I know. Uh, I read this a long time ago, actually. But I can't remember if he went into too much detail about who they. No, he didn't. I think he even used pseudonyms for.
Yes, yes, it's all pseudonyms. That's for the bands, for the personnel in the bands.
Yeah,
But it's Killing Joke and the Orb,
yeah,
and
of
he
course.
was the road manager for Killing Joke in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
together with Alex Patterson, who went on to become the Orb later on.
Yep.
And when that happened, Adam Morris lent a hand in releasing the Orb's first records on, you might remember this, a label called Wow Mr. Moto.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
And he became the manager for the Orb until one day he was sacked for doing too much drink and drugs.
Yeah.
That's the story. And it was in 1994. And he wrote a book only 2 years later. I think he went on a sort of creative writing course, and this was one
Mm-hmm.
of the things he did for the course. The original first version.
Mm-hmm.
And a few years ago, the guy who designs my books, Alfred Boland,
Mm-hmm.
he sold him some records to Discogs. And for whatever reason, how often will you start a conversation with your Discogs clients? But for whatever reason, they started a conversation, and it turned out that we were doing books. And he said, "Well, I have a book that hasn't been published in 25 years,
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that."
Long time.
And so I read the PDF, and I really enjoyed it. Um, it's for me still hard to figure out. So this pseudonym belongs to this guy. Alex Patterson is clear because but the members of Killing Joke, I don't know them by real name, so
Mm-hmm.
or almost not by real name. So how do I figure out who's who as a pseudonym? Um, so on that level, it's a complicated, well, more complicated, but it's also a very funny and sad book about some sort of rock and roll history. Like it's a bit like it says on the cover, it's a bit Spinal Tap for the E generation.
Yeah,
All
I
the
think
stupid things that's
I think that's what surprised me because I don't really associate you with the rock and roll lifestyle or rock and roll per se. I don't know. We haven't discussed it, but I don't know if you generally enjoy reading those kinds of books. But I generally do. I mean, I've read Lemmy's autobiography. Whether he really wrote it or not is another matter, but I imagine not. But I'm open to a lot of these books, so I did enjoy this. But it is pure rock and roll. It
I
really is.
let me I stopped after 2 pages because I found it so terribly macho. It's like
Oh, okay. So you
terrible. But
right.
I read a lot of the other books, like The Dirt by Mötley Crüe,
Oh yeah,
which
yeah. I've
I
seen the
really
film.
that's the film is terrible. The book is better, but I thought it was a terribly funny and also sad book in a way. You
Oh
know,
right, okay.
all of
Yeah,
the misery that happens to these people next to
yeah.
all the drugs and all the sex and all the things. So in general, I read I don't know I've got the title, but Bruce Dickinson's book from which band is he? Iron Maiden
Was
or
he in Iron Maiden, I think.
Iron
Oh,
Maiden? One of those
Root,
bands.
Root. Well, it's not my area of music, so
No,
I
no,
don't know.
me neither. But
But so
I download all these books, and it's interesting where he writes about being a musician and how he came to the band, and then he
mm.
starts writing about, oh yeah, I'm also an airline pilot. It's like, why
Okay.
do we care?
Oh right, okay. Oh
So,
wow.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so to go back to your book, then I think it did seem, and it does seem rather surprising, when you look at the overview of all of the books
mm.
you've published so far. So maybe a question for you in relation to that is: are you going to do anything else of that nature, or would you be open to anything else, or was it because somebody who's connected to the Orb and Killing Joke? I can see why that would be of interest, the kind of post-punk going into
Yeah,
electronic music.
yeah.
um you know whether you like the Orb or not, I don't know, but
I
or
do
Killing
actually.
Joke. You do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't buy every new record, but I used to be buying every new Orb
Oh,
record
okay.
that
Yeah,
came
yeah.
out. Yeah, up until
Okay.
15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Killing
Okay.
Joke, not so much, not so much. So
Okay.
that was one thing that for me was interesting to do. Um, if I would do another book, which is a sort of fictionalized account of stuff that really happened, or entirely fictionalized fiction book,
Mm.
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
No,
So
in the magazine that I published just now, the Annual,
mm,
there is a piece by my good friend Freek Kinkelaar, and
yeah,
it's about a particular cassette by the Huffle Trio.
so that's this book. Yeah,
That's that one,
yeah.
and it's a fictionalized story about this Huffle Trio cassette.
Mm,
And when I asked him, because I'm doing a book about the Huffle Trio, or about the first album, and
mm,
I said to Frank, I know you like this cassette. Why don't you write me a piece for our magazine about the cassette? And he says, only if it can be fiction. And I was
mm.
thinking, yeah, well, if you want,
Okay.
I'd rather have a real, talk to John Duncan, who published the tape, talk to Andrew McKinsey, and write an article. That's more what I would want. So
Yeah, of course.
fiction or fictionalized stuff, nah, maybe not.
Yeah, yeah. Are you interested in fiction generally?
No,
No.
not
Okay.
really.
Because my own interest in fiction kind of went down several years ago as well. I'm more interested in different types of books. And obviously, again, going back to what you do with your publishing house,
Mhm.
it's very archival and
Yes.
mostly archival and factual, and
Yeah.
certainly non-fiction because of that. So that's why this particular book really stands out. I enjoyed it because I kind of enjoy reading. I mean, they always seem like cautionary tales to me. Like this is exactly why I'd never want to go into music in that direction. I never did. I've always held down a job, kind of similar to you.
Yeah.
Uh, family, quite conservative in many senses.
No, also about the touring I did in my life, never had anything like this. Two or three people in the car going from or train from one place to the next and perform for 10 people has nothing to do with the rock and roll lifestyle. Rock and roll
Yeah, yeah,
lifestyle.
no, absolutely not. No, the world's you are, well, maybe my world has crossed over with that, with Splintered and whatever, but
Yeah.
I certainly, yeah, because we did dabble with a little rock and roll shenanigans, but and even my first group as well, but certainly the world's your music projects
Yeah.
are in. No, I can't
Hardly.
imagine. No,
Hardly.
the very opposite,
Yeah.
So Yeah, but anyway, we've covered that. How
The
did
thing
this?
is, I want to say about this book.
Yeah, please do.
Um, um, the reception, people who know about it like it,
Mm.
and it's very hard to get it across to people who like Killing Joke or The Orb, because there's a massive wall from these two bands against this book. They don't
Oh,
want you to know about this. Yeah,
you told me about that. Yeah.
yeah. I posted about this in various Facebook groups.
Mm.
Several of these messages got banned. One got no traction in the Orb group. And I got a note from the guy who was the moderator and said, well, uh, Alex Patterson doesn't want anything to do with Adam Morris. I leave the message in because there's no traction. There's not a massive discussion. There's no massive amount of likes. So we'll
Mm.
leave it in. But this is a warning. Don't do anything again. Yeah.
Oh.
I was in contact with a guy from Rough Trade Books, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this beforehand. Oh, I'm doing this, and this. Oh, I'm interested. I know Alex Patterson." So by the time it came out, I just sent him a message, and then I got no response at all.
Uh,
So I probably went to Alex Patterson and said, "Hey, this book, blah blah," and then that was it. That was the end of the story. Yeah,
oh, okay. So it hasn't done. I thought that would do really well for you,
yeah,
despite the crap, that
yeah. No,
served by the
no,
bands. Yeah. Oh, okay.
no.
Oh no, that's sorry to hear that.
Oh,
Obviously, yeah. Well, I'm used to. I'm used to things like that myself. Nonetheless, let's move on to the other book that we haven't covered
yeah,
in the first two. This Freaks
yeah,
book. This is a
hmm,
lovely collection of writing that he's
yeah,
had published elsewhere. I think there are a few unpublished, previously
yeah.
unpublished pieces
Hmm.
there as well. Really nice collection. How's that done as well? Obviously, he's a close collaborator of yours anyway, and we
Yeah,
certainly touched on that. But this is a really nice book.
did pretty well. Yeah,
Yeah,
well received. It's an interesting sort of collection of pieces, and very musically very far apart. And it's one of those things that I like about this sort of thing is that uh, this is what I want with my books anyway. Is that you read it and you think, how does it sound? And that's
mm,
always like I always say, there's YouTube. Go to YouTube and you can find anything you want.
mm,
All of the records that he writes about, or the most obscure sort of cassettes that are in the annual. Every single item is available as music on YouTube, so you can, and then that's the way to discover new stuff. And if you like it, you can always try and find the original vinyl.
yeah,
Because for Freak, of course, that is an interesting angle to it. He's more of the collector sort of type of guy.
mm,
Many of his stuff appeared in a record collector. So there's
right,
always this angle. Is an expensive record. I think that's that part he left out of the piece in the book. But that's of course the thing about, yeah, record collector. It has to be have a collector's value. Yeah,
yeah. But that something you just touched on there is something that resonated with myself when I was reading the book, and that's the fact that he's got very broad tastes in music
yeah,
as well. And certainly another thing you just said was the fact that I did feel compelled to check out some of the music,
yeah,
because I've got that same disposition, let's say.
yeah,
I need to, I needed to hear some of this music. So I'd say from that point of view, job well done. And I think
yeah,
he's a good writer as well. I think it's really, he's not too um, academic or serious. There's a little humor in there, some threads of humor, and uh, so
It's the same thing with this book about the legendary Pink Dots.
yeah.
Also, same style, same bits of humor in it, and yeah. Recently, he told me he's planning to do a book about Bee Queen. The band
Oh,
that we did together for
yeah,
many
of
years.
course. Okay.
And I told him, why? Who's going to read that?
Well, I will.
But, well, you maybe do. And he says, well, it's going to be everything, covering his solo music, the band he had before Bee Queen. So it's going about it's going to be about his life in music. And these days he plays in a Lou Reed cover band.
Really?
Yes, Blue Mask.
Okay.
They
That
exclusively
Blue
played,
Mask. Okay.
they, they played Blue Mask LP in its entirety. And
Oh,
maybe one of two other songs. Yeah.
oh, okay.
Um,
So it's very specific.
I
So,
must say I haven't heard it. I haven't seen them because I'm not a Blue Reed fan.
oh, new. Oh, I love some Lou Reed. Yeah, I
Uh,
think the Bells is a classic. Yeah, the classic Misery Fest. Yeah, have you heard that album?
oh no, I haven't. I don't think I've ever heard a Lou Reed album in its entire form. No.
Oh, I remember you said last time, I think, or in the first conversation that we had, that you didn't like David Bowie as well. Is that right? Was that you? You
No.
no.
I have various David Bowie records, so no,
Okay.
that was not
Where did
me.
I get that idea from then? Okay, sorry.
There's a small list of bands that I've never played a record, an entire record from. The Rolling Stones, never heard a record. Bob Dylan, never heard a record
Oh,
in the LP in its entire form.
oh, right. Well, I tried with Bob Dylan. I bought a few of his albums, and then they all kind of went. I don't have a problem with nasally voices or weird, or so-called bad voices, but I just thought his voice is just a little too much for me. I don't know why Marquis Smith's voice wasn't too much for me, but Bob Dylan's is. I just cut and I don't know. I tried. So, but anyway, yeah,
We can do one day where we do a mystery channel and we talk about bands we don't like.
yeah. Oh God, where would we start? I try to be a little more forgiving these days. To be honest, I've kind of softened up in my old age. Because I told you before, I teach English as well, so I meet all kinds of people, and that yeah, most of them have got very conservative or pedestrian tastes, but yeah, and my brothers did as well. So I try to make concessions. I
Right.
I know we're the weirdos.
No,
We're into no.
uh, we're the normal people.
We're the normals, yeah. We're the normies. So, um,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. That we've touched on two books that we haven't touched before. Now, last week, and again, I appreciate the fact you sent me PDFs as well, but I did scan the PDFs, but I'm absolutely terrible at, probably because one of my jobs is proofreading, and I'm I generally don't like reading too much stuff beyond the news online and social
Mm.
media related. However, I appreciate the fact that you sent me the actual copy of the annual, and this is the
Yep.
first edition. I
Yes.
understand of many. I think the plan that you have.
Many.
I
Yeah.
thought you. I thought you. I was reading the introduction. I thought you were hoping to do this once a year. Hence,
Yes.
yeah.
But many implies, if I do this every year, one time, and I'll do many, it's 15, I'll be in my mid 70s.
Well,
So
you've got
it's
plenty of life in you.
yeah, yeah. So if we manage to do three or four, I'm already very happy.
Oh yeah, because you've spoken about retirement before, haven't you? And
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's no, I will try to do it every year. That's the idea. And
okay.
the idea is to have a sort of yearbook magazine where we have all the people that we work with or want to work with in the future,
Mm.
have them submit a piece that they have it's been lying around for ages, or they thought, oh yeah, this I want to write this article about something. So Nick Soulsby, for instance, who did the Coil book recently,
Mm.
he once approached me with a bunch of articles for as a proposition for a book, and one of those articles is now in the annual. It's
Okay.
about concerts that end in riots, and
Oh right. Okay. Interesting.
yeah, and he did the intro for the Coil book that I did.
I
David
haven't read
Elliott,
that yet.
David Elliott from Neumusik fanzine.
Mm.
He wrote some stuff in the 80s and had an interview with Brian Eno and Roger Eno that was not published by Sounds.
I was
So
reading that last night.
that's now in the annual. So, and
Yeah.
there's a bunch of stuff that's is there for the first time.
Mm.
There's I wrote an article about an obscure Dutch cassette label Cubus cassettes. Richard Foster, who is a scholar living in the Netherlands, wrote
Mm-hmm.
about the whole post-punk scene in Eindhoven, which is a
Mm-hmm.
city in the Netherlands, with nasmaak and plus instruments. Around about 82. This was for his, I think, dissertation or something that never happened. So
Oh,
he said,
okay.
"Well, you can. This is the most completed chapter I have from my dissertation. Here you go." Um, there is a complicated piece that I don't understand by a Dutch guy called Harold Schellings,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to do a book, a translation of his book about the whole the whole post-punk thing in the Netherlands was called Ultra.
Mm-hmm.
Was a bit of no New York mixed with experiment. It could be very rocky. It could be very synth based.
So you've got a
Uh,
jazz kind of influence of No Wave.
no, no, no. It's no, there's no jazz at all. No, it's
Okay.
all weirdo post-punky music.
Mm-hmm.
And Harold Skellings wrote a book in Dutch 10 years, 12 years ago um, about that. And that's also something that we want to do a translation of.
Mm-hmm.
So he has, and he's also always writing stuff for the Belgian Gonzo magazine. So that's he's got a piece in there. So that's yeah, it's a mixed bag. It's stuff you I hope at least you read and you think, oh yeah, this is interesting. I
Oh
never
well,
knew
I've
this.
started reading it, and it's certainly interesting. It's very similar to an idea I've got as well for
Ah,
adverse effect. So, I
as
don't.
a book form.
Yeah. Because I've wanted to do a physical magazine again for a long time, because it's kind of in my blood, which is why we're similar to you. We're doing these
Yeah.
books now, but I I've long. I've also gathered lots of material for the next adverse effect, and I thought, I don't know if my heart's in doing a physical magazine anymore. Maybe I should just do a book, or
Yeah.
something similar to this, gathering the first, the only 4 editions of Adverse Effect together that I published, and maybe some loose ends as well. So
Wow.
similar, and then maybe it will continue in that direction. But again, we're similar ages, we're the same age, and I'm also thinking, well, I probably thought the same thing 10 years ago. Like, how long am I going to do this for? I think I'll be doing it until the bitter end, So,
I'm afraid so. I'm afraid so. Yeah.
yeah, all the
Yeah.
while I can, I think I will, through thick and thin, So, but yeah, again, let's focus on what you're doing, not what I'm
Mhm.
doing. Yeah, so this is really interesting. It's a nice idea. I understand it's just been published as well.
Yes.
And again, it's not something I've really asked you. I'm asking you more about this time, because I
Mhm.
haven't. Is this doing okay for you as well? And how much interest are your books generally getting? Is the word getting out? I mean, the whole
Um,
point of this is to help.
mhm.
I hope you've
Um,
had a few more sales.
yeah, but sales for me always is 1 and 2 copies, or somebody hears about it and then decides to buy 3 or 4 different titles. But it's not a massive amount. These 2 new ones
Really?
are slow starters.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm still waiting for Sound Ohm to order and Solar Moon and what's the French called, the new Metamkin.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a bunch of people that still have to order. Um,
To
um,
force exposure, take them in America.
Apparently, they're going to do that through Sound Ohm.
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't dealt with force exposure since 2007.
Oh,
I
right.
worked with them up until that point for my label, and one day to the next, they never ever ordered again. Never any contact. I couldn't phone them.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was really weird.
Mm,
But
very strange.
people from Sound said, yeah, maybe they can do it through them. So
But they're really
so
nice guys.
a good force exposure.
No, Sound Dome. They're really
Yes,
nice.
they are.
I've got a
Yeah.
box waiting to go to them now. With my
Ah,
Mark Perry. But they're really nice, and they're the only people I know who pay as soon as I send them an invoice. That it's like paid within I hope the story is the same for you.
Yeah.
They're really good
Almost same.
players,
Almost.
almost. But
The
my
only one,
very
the
low
only one,
value.
the only
Sorry.
one doing better in payment is Sol and Moon.
Oh right, okay.
If I send them the notification of shipment, and then it will still be 2 or 3 weeks before it reaches them, I already get the payment on the same day.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, it's such a rare thing in this world.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, they're good people to work with, and I'm pleased that they do work for me as well. And the other book that you've just published, you
Yes.
published these two, the annual and this, at the same time.
Yes.
Both of these arrived last week. At least my copies arrived last week. I
Mhm.
presume they came out, what, 2 weeks ago or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bad time of the year as well
Thank you.
to be, but it is, isn't it? It's a bad time of the year to put anything out.
I
So,
don't know.
no,
It's Christmas. It's Christmas around the corner.
well,
This is what
maybe
you
yeah,
find.
it's a good stocking filler.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So I've been reading this as well. Well, obviously I haven't had a chance yet to read it properly, cover to cover, and I've also been playing the CD that accompanies
Mhm.
this. This is your first ever fanzine,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I'm doing this from memory. I know the Nul Nul. I'm probably the same as
No. Yeah.
Freaks. It's Freak, isn't it?
Break. Yes.
Freak. So I always say freak because that's what
Mm.
it looks like in English. But freak. We've got 10 minutes left. Okay, I'll just remove this. So I've just had a window announcing that we've got a limited time left. This means,
No.
yeah, Nul Nul translates as to 00. It was
Yes.
your first fanzine. You only did a few issues. You
Mhm.
collaborated with a guy called Christian, was it?
Yes. Pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So
He and I were in the same class in school,
yeah.
and I started my cassette label, and I was copying tapes and carrying, bags full of tapes around, and so we got talking, and he was interested, and he joined me in Kapotte Muziek,
Mhm.
and to promote that, we started this whole fanzine together. I think by issue number 2 or 3, he lost interest. So we did 4 together. It was always signed with his name, so I decided to put his. And he died 20 years ago.
Yeah, I was
So
reading.
yeah, I decided to put his name on the front cover anyway.
Mhm.
And I was when I did the Vital book, I was thinking, oh, I have this too. It's a bit silly. It's very thin, fanzine. It's not a lot of words, but it's also a good, the way we design stuff, the way we wrote in Dutch, this very strange language, which is hard to translate. Mark Boyce and I spent so much time on doing the translation. Then we had this idea. Oh, the design should be a copy of the original. So everything is mirrored. So if it's a double hyphenation or one hyphenation, or if there's a space before a period or not, everything is
Mhm.
copied, and we drove each other insane
Okay.
on that process. Yeah. And of course, now it's a hardcover book with its. And I must say, even
Mhm.
if you don't like the book, you should actually maybe you should see that that's more as a CD release with an extensive booklet.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, obviously, it's reproductions of the content of the fanzines. It's very
Yeah.
text heavy, but there are some images in here I can
Hmm.
see. And yes, as you just made clear, you've got the Dutch and you've got the English translation on the facing page, the
Hmm.
adjacent page. It looks really nice. It makes. I know you're doing this book as discussed previously as well on Ron, RR Ron,
Yes.
and
Yes.
RR Records, Records.
Raggers.
Yeah, and this makes some of the music that he has dedicated his label to look commercial. It's really obscure. It's really when as I when people ask me what I like, I always say, musically, again, students in English lessons or whatever, I always,
Mhm.
David Bowie or whatever, I always stay with the more Radiohead commercial kind of stuff. And then I'm also interested in really obscure music, but this is beyond obscure. You know,
Yes.
it goes deep down. It's beyond subterranean. You know, it's
In some ways, in some ways,
there are a few groups I'm familiar with on the
yeah.
CD.
There's a
Obviously your group,
Yes.
Kapot.
Well, actually, I'm not on this track. I'm not on the CD.
Oh, okay.
So
So,
the Kapot Muziek track on this CD is a solo track by Christian,
uh,
and it's a sort of minimal synth thing. It's very pop music, I think.
yeah,
And
it's called Rock and. I was expecting a Gary Glitter cover.
yeah, well,
So,
we were already very wise back then.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, good.
so
Yeah, foresight.
somebody like had Zweet. They had a record on the Burmese Quark label, no, on Dossier,
Mhm.
and recently there have been a couple of reissues. TU20 still exists. Vidna of Mana doesn't exist anymore, but
Mhm.
Dick Cerise is still very much active in a totally different kind of music. He did noise
Mhm.
in 1985, 86, and then in 87 it was already ambient music. So those and if you there's a track on there by the group that ultimately became the Psychic Warriors of Gaia. And
Oh yeah.
if you play that track, you hear, oh yeah, straight away. If you know the Psychic Warriors, you will think, oh yeah, this sounds like the Psychic Warriors. And then
Okay. So there's
so
this
it's not,
link.
yeah, and there's stuff like Odal,
Mhm.
with who actually I saw yesterday at a concert
Oh,
in
okay.
he's still going strong with his noise music, and that's of course the real sort of loud noise type of thing. That's also a part of this CD. I think the CD is really way more a varied bunch of styles, and
Mhm.
not just the hard noise. I think
No, no.
some of this stuff is better than or commercially more commercial than some of the Ron stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's a fair point. You're selling
Yeah.
it well, which is what you're supposed to do. It's nice. I've only listened to this once so far, and I agree. It's a real nice, diverse mixture of styles, and it's good fun to listen to as well. I'm really enjoying it. But I think that brings us up to date. So we've only got a few minutes left. So I know we've again we're retreading old ground here. Just tell me
Mhm.
what you're doing next.
The Ron book
Mhm.
is pretty much it's going well. I have to work on
So
it a little bit more, of course,
okay, so when do you think it'll actually be ready to publish?
next year, and that will coincide with 40 years of records because
Mm.
the shop opened in January '84. Early 2024, there should be the Huffer Trio book.
Oh yeah, yeah, the one
Um,
you mentioned. Hmm.
yeah, there's going to be hopefully also next year the Broken Flag book, which is an extension of the
Oh yeah,
article
of course. Yeah,
from As Loud as Possible. And we're still
yeah.
looking for some images of covers.
Mm.
We did extra text for it. The Ultra book from Harold Schellings in translation. In the annual, there's an article by Karen Weisbrunner about the
Mm.
history of turntablism, and I've asked her, "Can you do me a book that is also the history of turntablism extensive, or a collection of your writings about turntablism?"
Mm.
That's also something that's been worked on. We have still have plans to do a book about the homosexuals.
The
Um,
homosexuals, the post punk art
yeah,
post punk group. Oh,
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
That's great. I
That's
love
more
love
that's
that
more
group.
thing for my designer to work
Mm.
on with other people. No, he's not gonna write it, but he's more the initiator behind this, and he knows the
Okay.
people who should write it.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice.
There's
So you've
a bunch
got
of other.
a lot happening.
Yes.
And I know again last time as I'm just if it looks like I'm peering over the computer, I'm just trying to see the time. We've got 2 minutes left. Um, I know again we touched on this last time. You were telling me about how your days look last time
Mhm.
in the last conversation, and I know you generally try to put all your work behind you in the evening and relax, because you deserve it. So the same as I do. Um, However, are you pretty busy daily? Are you quite a workhorse? Are you getting up in
Yes,
the morning and then just
more
just
or less. Yeah.
doing? Yeah.
I get up at about 7 or 8, and
Okay.
I work until 7 or 8. Well, 8,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then there's a bit of lunch, there's a bit of dinner. I do a bit of exercise, and then I go to bed at 10 o'clock.
You
Yeah,
go
getting
at
old.
10. Oh, right.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
and then I read for another hour. I
Oh,
read in
okay.
bed. So
Oh, I do.
real paper books. Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's. I don't go to bed too late. No.
Oh, okay. Not like me. That's why you're fresh faced compared to me. I go to bed between 12 and 1. I'll get about 6 hours
Uh,
sleep. Yeah.
yeah. No, I stopped doing that a long time ago.
Oh,
Or not a long
okay.
time, but I stopped that. I did that, but
You're
but
now.
I noticed I would just work until that also. Oh yeah, I can answer this email. So it's 12 o'clock. Let's do this email.
Hmm.
And I thought, nah, I should switch off everything and then fuck off to bed. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, very wise. So I need to learn these kind of lessons. Even my wife goes to bed really early, and I'm still, yeah, I'm usually watching a film. I think, 10 o'clock, time to sort of watch a film, and then I read a book as well. So,
At the
you know,
same time.
no, no, I'm checking email sometimes because usually I'm watching a film. I'm not using our television downstairs. I'm usually watching on the computer with headphones, so I don't disturb anybody. So, yeah, nice seeing you, friends. Take care.